Hello, it's me again. I just thought I wanted to talk about some Xbox 360 games that you can get for quite cheap at the moment in the UK. I don't know how expensive some of these games are in, say, the US or Australia, places like that. Maybe you could let me know in the comments. But some of these games I think are absolutely hidden gems. There's a few classics in there, but I just thought I would just go through, highlight some of them are games that I've just picked up recently, and just thought I would recommend some of these games to you. So the first one I've got is Break the Walls Down, Clive Barker's Jericho. And I got that for £4, and I think it's still £4 at the moment in CEX. But I think that this game is quite underrated. I know a lot of people really hated it. In fact, there's not that many videos on YouTube about it, but it's a horror kind of inspired first-person shooter. There's a lot of kind of fellow kind of companion mechanics and things like that, and it's definitely one that's worth checking out. I'll put a little bit of gameplay footage on. I'm not going to put gameplay footage of all of the games that I talk about, and I've got over 20 that I want to get through, so I might not spend too long talking about each one. But Clive Barker's Jericho is one that I would definitely recommend checking out if you haven't already. Next up is Legendary. It's a game which I think is about £5 at the moment. And again, it's a game which I think is really underrated. Somebody actually mentioned it to me in the comments on one of my past videos, and I completely agree with them. It's a really, really interesting game with a really cool opening. It's really worth playing even just for that bit alone. £5 in the UK isn't expensive at all, so that's one that's worth checking out. Next up is a game that Larry and I reviewed on TV many years ago, Turning Point, Fall of Liberty. You can see I've got the promotional copy as a result. It's a first-person shooter set in like an alternate World War, after World War II, where I think essentially the Nazis win, or something like that. Whatever the reason is to shoot Nazis, it's in this game. And it's only £1. Again, it's not perfect. I try not to use the term jank. It's got its faults, but you know what? For £1, it's definitely worth playing. And if you're like me and you enjoy playing 360 and PS3 games nowadays more than you do the latest things, again, for £1 in UK, you can't go wrong. Next up is The Outfit. Again, this one is backwards compatible, I should say, on the Xbox 360, and it's like a bit like a third-person shooter mixed with strategy elements, and again, it's a lot of fun. There's you can kind of choose where you want to put kind of turret guns and things like that, anti-tank stuff, and it's a bit like if there was an 18 game which included strategy or something. But I used to have a lot of fun back in the day playing that online, so it's a game that I'd recommend. You can get that for about £1.50 now, which I think is an absolute bargain. Next up is a game that you may have played before, and it's called Hitman Blood Money. Now, this is my copy of Hitman. It doesn't have I should get a box because the game's only £2.50 in CEX at the moment. Again, many of these games you'll probably be able to get online. eBay, places like that, maybe a little bit cheaper. Sometimes I actually find that CEX is a lot cheaper than eBay, especially with some of those more sought after titles at the moment. But I just really wanted to show off the disc for this game because my version of this disc is really it's not a dodgy copy, just to clarify. This is the copy that I got from is it IDOS, were the ones who released this game, and it just says Microsoft Confidential on there, system update 2258, and it's got the when it was printed, the 27th of the 4th, 2006. You can see the camera and the reflection, but this still actually works. I recorded some of the footage. I put this in my Xbox Series X, and yeah, it just downloaded the game no problem. So of course you wouldn't get a copy like this, and I wouldn't maybe even suggest that you do. I don't even know how many of these exist. Maybe I'm the only person with this type of copy of the game. But again, for £2.50, a backwards compatible game, and Hitman Blood Money is actually my favourite of the Hitman series. Next, Alpha Protocol, kind of a tactical kind of espionage spy thriller game. Obsidian were involved in this. I paid £1.50, as you can see, and that's how much it is at the moment at CEX. It's got some martial arts, stealth kind of stuff in there, lots of choices to be made and dialogue and so forth. So I haven't played too much of it yet, but I'm going to play it more. Again, any of these games, if you've played them and you do rate them, let me know. If they're ones that you think, oh, that was actually quite shocking, to be fair. Again, yeah, let me know what your thoughts are. I'm not suggesting that all of them are going to be absolutely perfect, but again, £1.50, you know, in comparison to how expensive some of the games are nowadays. Next is Brothers in Arms, Hell's Highway. This is only about £2 in CEX at the moment, and I think all the Brothers in Arms games are really underrated, and I'd thoroughly recommend it. I think it's it's backwards compatible as well on the Xbox 360. So if you're a fan of the Brothers in Arms games, let me know. I'd love to know what your thoughts are on those. If it's one you've tried. I just think to myself, all these games, so many of these games back in the day had online multiplayer. And I never really played Brothers in Arms online. I always wondered what it would have been like. But £2, you know, to play it even just for the single player campaign is definitely worth it, in my opinion. The Darkness, I think this is a game where it's still so cheap, but I don't understand why it's so cheap. It's £1.50, you know, so grab us an absolute bargain. Again, I got this as a promotional copy many years ago. I was sent this very nicely from 2K, and I absolutely loved it. It's such a good game. It's really, really worth it. I've got the sequel as well, but on PS3. I've never really played that, but I heard it's really good, kind of all action fun. But this is a really, really cool game which I really enjoyed. As I said, it's really cheap. How much is it? Did I say £1.50? And it's backwards compatible. So again, another game definitely worth checking out. Next up is a game that I've only actually got on the PS3 nowadays. I did have it on 360 many years ago, but I sold it like a sausage. In fact, I'm going to put up a picture. I sold so many games once. Like I put all these games in my bed that I was going to sell, like over 100 games, and I regret it now. One of those games that I sold for about 50p was Fatal Inertia, or whatever it's called, which is like worth over £100 now. So don't be a sausage like me, and you know, sometimes just some games are just worth keeping. I would have never been able to have guessed that game would have been worth so much. But Stranglehold is such an underrated gem. It really is. £2 on the Xbox 360. I don't think it's backwards compatible, unfortunately, but it's got some really cool kind of John Woo moments, bullet time. You can shoot people in the nuts. Really, really, really good game, which I can't recommend enough. Army of Two. This is the sequel, I think, the 40th Day. I don't know how much this is, but I paid £2 in CEX for it. So I think I think the first one's backwards compatible. I don't know about this one. Maybe it is. Sorry, you have to let me know that one in the comments. I don't remember. But I actually quite enjoyed the Army of Two games. Like, I'm not suggesting they're perfect, but they're quite enjoyable games. And again, for £2, you know, quite a fun third-person shooter to play. Next up, Kane and Lynch, Dead Men. You can see my copy here is a promotional one, but what's interesting is it says that there's an embargo for the 23rd of November. They never specified what year, so I've never opened it. So I didn't want to get in trouble. But I have played Kane and Lynch. I've got it on PS3 as well. Again, I think it's an enjoyable game. It's not perfect. I think tongue is firmly in cheek with a lot of it, but it's £2, I think, in CEX, and the sequel is backwards compatible, but I don't think this one is. But maybe I'm wrong about that. Again, you might want to get the sequel as well, because that's quite cheap. Next up, Mercenaries. Mercenaries 2, to be specific. This was like Just Cause before Just Cause, and I think, especially the first one. But anyway, it's similar to Just Cause. If you like kind of going around causing chaos, explosions, lots of debris and destructible buildings and things like that, It's a really underrated game. It's £1.50 in CEX on Xbox 360. Obviously, I don't know what the cost of the PS3 version is, but it's a game really worth playing. If you haven't played it before, play it. Also, the 360 version, I think, has DLC where you can play as Barack Obama and Sarah Palin, I think, if I remember correctly. So yeah, might be worth checking out. Next up, Brutal Legend. Again, I've got the PS3 one. This is sealed. I've never actually opened it. And again, I had a 360 version. I stupidly sold it. But it's only £1.50 if I wanted to get it again. It's backwards compatible. So, you know, it's... again, if you like Jack Black, I've got to remember, I remember playing this thinking it would be like a third-person kind of action game, and there's a lot of strategy involved. So if that kind of puts you off, bear that in mind. But I really enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun with that back in the day, and I think I played it online. So yeah, up to 8 players online. I'm guessing that no one plays that anymore. I don't even know if the servers would be up. Star Wars: The Force Unleashed. A really solid game. Again, I've got it on PS3. This was a promotional copy I received. I really enjoyed this back in the day. I think you can get the version that's got all the DLC included, or you could get the 360 version and get the DLC before the store closes. It's about £4, I think, on Xbox 360 now. But so much fun with the over the top force powers and so forth. Lots of lightsaber combat. You start off the game as Darth Vader going around destroying Wookiees, I think it is. I think I might have said Ewoks before, but it's definitely Wookiees. I think that you end. Dead Space 2 on the Xbox 360 again is another one I would recommend. £1.50 you can get this for. Obviously, if you've got like the EA Play thing, maybe it comes with that. I'm not sure what's on that. But it's backwards compatible, and obviously, if you know, I think they cancelled the remake for this. I don't know if that's ever going to go ahead now. I really enjoyed the remake, to be honest. But then I remember thinking I might as well just play the original. And again, this has got some really cool moments in it. It's definitely worth. Again, £1.50. I don't know how expensive it might be in other places around the world. And again, I'm interested to hear how much some of these games are varying in price. I find that really interesting. Again, I'm not saying any of these things to try and kind of change the price of them. These are games that I would recommend that are cheap, that you might want to pick up rather than these really expensive ones. Oblivion, a game, if you haven't played, it's well worth checking out. £1.50 on the in CEX. It's backwards compatible. You could obviously pick up a little bit more expensive the was it Game of the Year edition, which has got DLC. There are alternative versions to get all of that content, but it's a game that I really enjoyed when that came out. I even bought the horse armor. I'm one of those, so I don't know why. You could blame me for being one of those people that started off the whole DLC like it is. Time Shift. This is a really underrated game. I actually really enjoyed the initial demo that came out for this. So the initial demo is very different from the actual final game, like incredibly different. In fact, I wonder how rare the demo disc is. I'll try and put some footage of the demo up and then show what the actual final game is like in comparison. But either way, it's still a fun game. I really enjoyed throwing a grenade in, watching someone explode and the limbs going everywhere, rewinding time and then getting to do it again. A lot of fun. You can mess around with time as it suggests on the box. It's not backwards compatible though, I don't think, and it's only £2. But aside from I'm guessing there was the PS3 version, I can't remember, but it's really worth playing this first-person shooter if you haven't already. Next is one of my favourite WWE games of all time. It's WWE All-Stars. This is £5, unfortunately, in CEX. Unfortunately, it's not backwards compatible, but I honestly think it's actually probably my favourite wrestling game of all time. It's over the top, it's silly, yes, but I don't think there's ever been a wrestling game which made me feel like wrestling is. I don't know if I'm wording that very well. It's over the top and exaggerated movesets, but it's when you do like a mid-air RKO in this, or you know, you catch someone into the attitude adjustment, or give them a sweet chin music as they fly off the ropes. Honestly, nothing's ever felt as good as this did to me when I played this, and I had so much fun playing this back in the day with It's My Yard. So that is definitely a recommended game, £5. Bionic Commando is only £1. You get a bionic arm, you get to swing about and shoot people. What more else do you want to know about that, apart from that it's not backwards compatible? But a game that I would recommend for only £1 in England, only £1. You could do far worse, couldn't you? I mean, this might be far worse to many. You might say, why are you recommending this? Well, it's £1. Unfortunately, it's not backwards compatible, but you know, it's quite a laugh. You know, my favourite thing about this was sometimes you get to see like cutscenes from the perspective of someone else, you know, just spin about and do stupid stuff during those moments. But I don't know if that's worth £1, but I do feel that they were people were quite harsh on this game when it came out. So might be worth checking out for just £1. Hitman Absolution, not my favourite of the Hitman games. One again I got as a promotional copy. I'm very fortunate enough to get that, but it's £1.50 and it's backwards compatible on the Xbox 360. It's quite different from the other Hitman games in my opinion. It was far more focused on stealth, and again I'll try and, where I can, I'll put footage up, but I don't know if I've got footage of that game. Finally, and last but not necessarily least, is Alone in the Dark. Again, this is the PS3 version, I'm aware, but you can get it on Xbox 360 for like £2. Unfortunately, it's not backwards compatible, but for £2, it is definitely worth checking out. It's a game I had a lot of fun doing. I did a silly review of it a number of years ago now, but again, it's got some interesting mechanics in that game that are definitely worth giving a go. Anyway, that was it. A very, very quick overview of over 20 Xbox 360 games that you can get for under £5. If there are any games that you think is really worth me being aware of, obviously there's loads that I've missed out on, let me know, because there's some absolute gems out there that I just haven't played. So do let me know in the comments if there's anything there. And again, the variation in prices I'm really interested in, because I actually think in the UK, a lot of these games are really cheap, and I feel that sometimes in the US they're really not. So I don't know why that is. If anyone's got any reasons why that might be, put them in the comments. But thanks for watching. Thanks for all the support from the other videos as well, and I hope to see you in another video sometime soon. Bye!